Can you say that in like normal English? You're using a lot of big words, and we just dropped 10
Sorry.
people, which makes me think people are not understanding what you're saying.
Sure. At a basic level, it just means that there's things that we will never be able to confirm. How do we exclude the stuff from being discussed that we know for sure we'll never be able to confirm, and only talk about stuff that we might be able to confirm?
Yeah.
And we need to kind of structure our reason and discourse to limit it to the stuff that is like going to matter and that we can confirm, or at least recognize that the stuff that we can't confirm is only useful to, again, as a regulative idea, not as a testable hypothesis. Everybody knows that a man is supposed to be one way. Like, there's this kind of pressure for the gender ideal to be one way, and that's because there's an unconscious ontological structure of thought behind it that is not simply a reflection of like biology and culture or something, as other gender theorists like presume it to be. Like, this is a much more deeper existential thing that has to do with logic. This is actually why the gender ideal of men hasn't changed. You and I also know this. Like, yeah, we've had tons of feminism throughout 19th, 20th century. The standards for women have changed a whole lot, and women are kind of allowed to be what they, more or less like what they want. Obviously, I'm not plenty of oppression there, but it's kind of presumed that woman who wants to become a man makes sense, right? Or it's like, okay, yeah, the women are disempowered, so if she becomes a man, she wants to be empowered, and it's like a kind of more straightforward thing. Whereas we can't conceive of a man wanting to become a woman. That's like a big problem for the structures of unconscious thought, and it relates back to this structure of sexuation. So on the women's side, no totality, no meta language, but a formalization that can account for everything. It's like every type of woman can find some sort of way of being that is like valid for her, but can't be said to be valid for everybody together.
I guess one thing somebody mentioned that I guess I want to get your take on it is how for men or for males, there is also like a father archetype and then a more like anarchic male archetype. Kind of like Fight Club versus like, let me think of like a optimal father figure. I don't know. I was gonna say a priest earlier, not for the father figure thing, but as like an alternative role that's like high status, and for males.
So the psychoanalysts call this like the father function,
Mm-hmm.
which doesn't strictly have to refer to like a biological father within the family, although that's the normal context that it's applied in, where a child growing up is supposed to have this relationship to society that is represented by the father, to where they initially are unified with the mother, or they're literally part of her body, and then they're sucking her teat and dependent on her, and they're kind of, okay, like the child and the mom are together. The child like wants to refer to the mother, wants to fuck the mother. The role of the man or the father in that context is to create that separation essentially between like the child and the mom, and to point out to the child that actually there's this like external world that we're referring to, that your existence doesn't simply refer to the mother figure, it refers to like society more broadly. So there's like this stage of separation, and you could also say that that's a bit similar to how teenagers growing up have a sense of, when they're kids, maybe they're very like obedient and listening to society. When they get to be like puberty age, they become rebellious, so they create like a separation between themselves and society. And then there's supposed to be like a third step where they integrate themselves as that like father figure, or they reinscribe themselves in the society, and they become like the limiting figure in some sense. Or if they go on to make the next generation, then they would be the ones who are creating that separation for the child, and eventually leading them to reintegrate into society in like the like upper role, or whatever you want to call it.